And now for something completely different.
Greetings and welcome to Lucas Sprues. Today I'm doing something completely different, my first ever naval build, and that is going to be the 1/700 scale U-boat Type 7B set by Flyhawk. As you can see, the kit is very small and very neatly packed. I began by assembling both hulls of the U-boat and then gluing the conning tower before moving on to the nice photo etched parts. With the photo etched parts, I cut them out of their frame and then bend them using tweezers, and then use super glue to apply them to the model. The photo etch in this kit is a very nice inclusion given how at the small scale details that are very thickly moulded in plastic look unrealistic. They're used for things such as railings, the floorings, some of the hatches and the deck guns. The plastic sprues contain parts such as the diving planes, the rudder and the propeller assembly. I cut those ones out carefully and then used normal Revell Contacta Professional to glue them to the hull. A stand was also included in the photo etching brass, which was a nice touch. The last thing I glued to the hull of the ship before moving on to painting was the deck gun, which also included photo etched seats and sights, which were very hard to show on camera. I decided to make my own scheme for the boats and chose U-96 from Das Boot and U-949 from Season 3 of Das Boot. I printed these decals out to the correct size and then painted the boats. Firstly, I painted the upper surfaces light sea grey and the underside in dark grey. I did 3 coats for each colour. As you can see, my first coats were more messy, but as I got to the later stages, I used a finer brush and was more careful to follow the lines to get them nice and clean. It's not too hard to paint this boat despite its very small size, since there are some good lines to follow along the ship hull. The boat also contains some finer details. On one of them, U-949, there is a small red kind of flotation device. As you can see, my custom decals are very small and it's hard to see even in the final product, but I still applied them using the usual technique of a bit of water to get the decals off the transfer paper, and then applying a little bit of Tamiya Decal adhesive over the top to get them to stay. I also used the flag from the kit. I doused the entire ship in watered down flat black to create a pin wash to help the decals pop and give the illusion of a bit of weathering, and then I used some Tamiya hull red using a very fine brush to drag it along the edges of the ship where the waterline would be to simulate rust. The final step was to add some Yushi van der Rosten rigging to the ship, which added an extra level of detail. I simply glued it to one end of the antenna rack and then to the other one, and with that the model was completed. Admittedly, the size of this kit made it very difficult to do, especially with very little naval ship experience. However, I still experimented with this one and I'm very happy with the results. I think definitely the photo etching and the rigging wire adds a lot of realism to the ship, but otherwise you can still build this one just with the basic plastic parts and still get a decent model. Thank you to everyone for supporting the channel, and if you've got any questions or suggestions, be sure to leave a comment. A special shout out, as always, to our wonderful patrons, Archie Palmer, J&K Jones, Emo, and Joan Moss. Everyone's support has been absolutely brilliant, and I look forward to seeing you guys on the next video. But until then, model on.